Chapter 15 Visions of Time. As soon as the doors opened up, I felt something strange course through my body. I froze in place while a cold shiver traveled up my spine. When I was able to move again, I felt almost weightless. My vision blurred slightly while the pain in my chest returned. I fell to my knees while grasping my chest, a soft purple glow appearing on my wrists. Twilight, Wasp, and Zeri moved in front of me to make sure I was okay, Twilight's horn lighting up with her magical aura as she scanned my body with some kind of spell. When I lifted my head slightly to look into the open temple, I heard a faint sound of someone mumbling to themselves. As soon as that sound hit my ears, the pain faded and the weightless feeling returned. I gasped as I felt the weight of both the pain and my own body disappear. The others gave me a few moments to recover from whatever that had just happened. Twilight mentioned something about a possible defense system on the temple, or some sort of identification spell. I wasn't sure why an identification spell would hurt me. I've been scanned by spells before. Twilight then explained that it could be a more powerful ancient version of the modern-day scanner spells. Since small doses of magic don't negatively affect me, it was possible that my non-magical body would be affected by higher quantities of magical energy. I shook my head and got to my feet again, the changeling twins asking me if I still wanted to go further. I didn't really have much of a choice. With all the questions I have floating around in my mind, the only place I'd find answers from were the books or the temples. Considering I didn't have any of the journals, other than the one currently being kept by the Cantalette mages, I didn't exactly have any other leads to go on. So, I pressed on, my companions latching onto my shoulders once again while Scary poked his head out of my hair to check that everything was okay. With Twilight at my side, we entered the temple. First, we descended a long flight of stairs, the only source of light being the purple energy coursing through the cracks in the stone walls. Eventually, we made it to the bottom where we immediately noticed a difference. The stone gradually turned from hard rock to smooth black marble stone, no cracks being visible, but the purple energy still separated each brick in a neater and almost computer-like pattern. There were lanterns every few dozen meters or so that lit the long corridor with soft purple glows. We continued on and noticed some ancient writings on the walls, which Twilight either took pictures of or wrote down in her notebook, while also observing my own behavior and reactions to things while taking notes. We reached another doorway which led further underground. When we reached the bottom of the next flight of steps, we noticed that the hallway was much larger in size, with multiple lit murals and closed-off passageways along each side. Most of the murals were of strange things that, well, I guess some of the cultists saw in their visions, while others had humanoid figures in them, not exactly in the shape of a human, but close enough that I could tell what they were supposed to be. Many of the other murals showed the symbol of my medallion, which was really unsettling. The last mural before the main chamber caused us all to stop. It showed a clearer human figure with its hands held up to two ring-shaped objects, with a larger figure leaning over them with evil-looking eyes. Twilight took a picture with the camera she had brought along, and took some notes while I brushed my hand against the smooth carved marble. When my fingers touched the image of the rings, I blacked out for a moment before multiple images appeared in my mind. A room full of various creatures chanting to some kind of scepter, a vague image of a human figure, but somehow different from that strange figure I keep seeing in Cantalette, two purple rings sitting on a podium, and finally, a hoof closing a book with the cover labeled Journal 6. Strangely, I didn't recoil from the sudden visions. I just slowly pulled my hand away from the stone and gently grasped my medallion. Twilight took notice of my behavior and asked if I was okay. I said I was, and that I may have just found more questions, but possibly some answers. Then, I felt that pulling sensation again, and having gotten used to it, I allowed it to guide me further down the hallway towards the entrance to the main chamber. a strange comforting feeling washing over my body. It was warm, familiar. It felt like when my sister would hug me when we were little. Why was I feeling this way? What was causing this? And why was I not tearing up from the familiar feeling? Questions that would yet again go unanswered, at least for the time being. The pulling sensation ceased when I reached the entrance to the main chamber, yet the warm feeling remained. I gently pressed my hand against the smooth marble door, and the sound of gears turning in the walls echoed out like the inside of a clock tower. The door slowly opened, revealing a dome-shaped chamber with a large cube-shaped purple crystal in the middle of its ceiling. The energy that ran through the temple like blood through veins seemed to be coming from there. Directly below it, a small podium sat in the middle of a small platform surrounded by a pool of water that seemed like a piece of Luna's night sky was ripped from the heavens and placed into a pond. A small bridge led up to the platform, and on the podium sat the scepter from my vision. It was small, no bigger than a slightly large garden trowel. It had a silver grip with 2 silver wings sticking out at the top, with a small purple gemstone on a marble rock at its tip. What was the deal with this place in the color purple? When I reached to the podium, I grabbed the scepter and held it tightly in my hand for a moment. I didn't know what it was for, but I knew it had to mean something and that it was important. With the artifact in hand and the vision still fresh in my mind, I turned around and began to make my way towards the exit, with Twilight at my side and my tiny companion still clinging to my shoulders and head. This would be the first stop of many. There were still many questions that needed answers, and while I knew that I still had many days left, it wouldn't be long before that number got smaller and smaller.